All right, Ian. Well, as soon as it feels like you may have solved one problem and you get 3 goals on the board, uh, other problems arise. And I don't think the defense overall was a big deal tonight. The even strength defense, obviously an issue. To me, it was more the plays on the weak side. They gave up a lot in the back door, which is what led to Lowell's chances.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot can be said just based off of the fact of we came into this matchup tonight talking about how Merrimack's offense needed to be more productive. They were. They were able to put 3 goals up on the board, and what we talked about as being a strong point so far for this team through the first 3 weeks of the season, defending and being one of the top 5 teams in the nation defending, coming into tonight. They took a step back tonight. You give up 6 goals. That's the easiest way to put it. Taking a step back. Owen Cole for UMass Lowell tonight had himself a game, a goal and 3 assists. He was everywhere. Figured in on 2 of the 3 goals in the second period for Lowell, and it was pretty much the Owen Cole show tonight for UMass Lowell. And now you get some questions that you got to answer going up to Maine next weekend.
It doesn't get any easier. Yeah, I'm not. It's interesting, right? Because it's all about sample size at this time of year, and it's still a very small sample size no matter what. But they've played a longer period of time playing well defensively than they have playing poor defensively. So until it becomes a trend, I'm not going to worry about it yet, right? It could become a trend Friday. Like you give up another 5 or 6 goals on Friday night, well, now it's a trend.
Yeah.
That Maine series last year here is when the D zone really looked bad, when Maine was here for 2 games. So it's not a trend yet. It's not something I'm worried about yet, but it could very quickly become a concern if this happens again and again. And this is a Maine team that has put some goals on teams as of late. I don't know what the score was tonight. I think it was 2-1 going into the third. But
2-2. They ended up going into overtime.
I mean, I know they handled Northeastern pretty well last night.
Won there for the first time in 10 years almost?
Something like that.
10, 12 years, which is nuts to think about.
And then Quinnipiac, I mean, they put up some goals at Quinnipiac too. So it's a Maine team that can definitely score. So it definitely could happen. You hope it doesn't. But I think it's more about cleaning up some specific things in the D zone. And it was those backdoor weak side plays. And it wasn't even just goals off the backdoor weak side. Johnson's goal was like that. I think Eddie's goal was like that. But there was some other chances it was Owens had a chance early in the game. First minute of the game, I think it was, on the back door. Cole had a couple of chances on the back door. Krasa, Truman. It was it was consistently, it seemed like it was on the weak side of the ice where those scoring chances were coming.
Yeah, and Scott talked about it in the postgame with us too, right? He mentioned, that they're so focused on trying to defend the strong side of the ice to make sure that puck doesn't have a chance to get through and get to the back door on the weak side. But there was some overcommitment tonight. Guys, got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it created just enough of a seam and just enough of a lane for Lowell multiple times tonight.
And there were some guys who were wide
to make wide open passes.
I mean, and the thing that was a little more concerning, I think, is just some of the passes that went through multiple people. Like they scored a lot of goals here, so I was trying to figure out which one. I think it was Eddie's goal. Buttazzoni carried the puck in on his backhand, sent a backhand pass through, I think, 3 bodies.
It was at least 2 or 3 bodies.
Yeah, I think it was 3 bodies to get to Eddie for the one-timer. That's a goal that just can't happen. And that to me was kind of the highlight of the night. You got a guy on the wall, backhand pass, sends the puck through 2 bodies about 60 feet on the back door. That kind of summed it up. That was the issue tonight, all summed up in 1 goal.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you're looking at a transition play coming down the ice, and all of a sudden you're caught trying to give the goaltender the shooter coming in, or do I commit and try and take away as much of a shot lane or as much of a passing lane as he might think he has on the other side? And you're relying on your defender coming in on the back check to complete the play and pick up that trailer, and it didn't happen.
And I think, too, if they look back at that Owen Cole goal on video, the one in the third period, they seemed lost in the D zone on that one. It almost looked like there were multiple players in the ice. I don't know if they were calling for an offside or if they were calling for a penalty, but multiple Merrimack players at different points in that shift had their arm raised while the puck was still in play. The puck ends up on Cole's stick. He finishes the goal. So that one just looked like a play where they got a little lost. And again, that is a little concerning too.
I think the question coming into that one was it might have been a hand pass. It was a situation where up at the blue line, Cole,
they were looking for something.
Somebody went to go make a play on the puck.
Multiple players in the middle of the play were like putting their arms up, and the puck's still moving around the zone. So, that was kind of the story. Some of the positives, they got the power play going. I mean, we had said when you're in offensive droughts like that, generally it's your power play that will ultimately get you out of it. And their power play was 2 for 2 tonight. That looked good off of a low penalty kill that had not given up a power play goal yet. So that was a good sign. They generated more shots in the power play. You're taking some positives away from this game. I would look at the power play. I would look at Nick Pierre, who I thought had a good game, and Michael Emerson, who that goal seemed to spark some confidence in him, I thought, too.
Yeah, a couple guys, Michael Emerson and Caden Cranston, right? Both, Kalen Fitzpatrick. A couple of guys' first collegiate goals tonight here. So
I thought Fitzpatrick was really good, too.
Yeah, I thought he looked well different times tonight. He seemed to fit in well with what was that top line tonight for Scott and his staff. I thought he was a good fit there at different times with Emerson on his left and Tyler Young over on the right hand side. At least until that change came. There was midway through the second, and we saw a couple of guys kind of get mixed around, and
once
kind of got thrown in the blender. Yeah, that's another thing that we should at least mention coming out of tonight. There's a couple of guys a little banged up, and we're now kind of at a situation where you're kind of you're going to be monitoring a little bit of the health here. And
sound familiar?
Yeah, we're back all over again.
Sound familiar? Satira left the game in the first period, didn't come back. Ivan Zivlak left the game after that collision with Nemec. He didn't come back, and Scott Bork after the game said it sounded like both would be out for a little bit. They're not real thin on the blue line. I think they're lucky there right now with some depth because Gravel's played really well. I would expect you would just see probably Nathan King or Max Wattville slide into that Zivlak spot if he's going to be out for a bit. The bigger question becomes, what do you do with that forward group if Satira is out? You don't really have a guy that fits into his spot. I mean, you got forwards there on the line that you could put in. You could put in a Sacco. You could put in a Von Juhas. I mean, there's options of guys that they can insert there. But none of those guys really fit the same role that Satira has. So that may cause some more lineup shuffling as they head into next week.
Yeah. I don't want to call it a very similar situation, but last year you had a main team coming in here after you were trying to struggle, and you were getting out of the gates a little slow, much like we have so far here through the first 4 games. And you got absolutely blitzed by a main team here at home.
Yes.
And especially in that first period on Friday night. I remember talking to you after the opening 20, and I couldn't believe
the D-zone that play that series last year against Maine. The D-zone play was awful. It was awful.
So here we are a year later. Now instead of Maine coming down here, you got to go up there, and we've heard just how tough of a place that place has become to go up and
it's always again. Yeah, it's always tough. It wasn't tough for a while when they weren't winning because people weren't going. Now the fact they're winning games again, it's pretty packed on a nightly basis, and they've become the main event of Northern Maine again.
No pun intended.
Exactly. Yeah. Nope.
The main event in Maine?
Did not intend that, actually. So there you go.
I'm looking forward to it, making my first trip up to the Alpha next week. So
I am likely going. We'll see. I still have to firm up my plans, but I may see you there. So
at the very least, we'll see each other next week when we sit down and talk about this a little bit more and some other events around campus here today.
So we'll see you on the podcast coming up in a couple of days, more than likely. Lowell defeats Merrimack 6-3 tonight. We'll see what happens next week. But football, before we go, football did beat Colgate today 51-17. So
and the women.
And the women.
Merrimack women completed a sweep of Lindenwood this weekend. So shout out to the women ice hockey program as well.
Shout out to Lindenwood. Great uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
Love those
black
uniforms.
And a little bit of gold.
The black with the gold.
Good look.
I like it.